بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سعادة السفير بيوش شريفاستيفا سفير الهند لدى مملكة البحرين، السادة الباحثون والخبراء والقادة، حضرات الضيوف الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بداية يشرفني أن أرحب بجميع الضيوف والمشاركين في مؤتمر البحرين الدولي الافتراضي للذكاء الاصطناعي في الاستدامة والطاقة المتجددة تحت رعاية سعادة السفير بيوش شريفاستيفا سفير الهند لدى مملكة البحرين، وذلك بتنظيم من مجموعة GEC ميديا والمجموعة العالمية للذكاء الاصطناعي، وبالتعاون مع السفارة الهندية بمملكة البحرين، مركز ناصر للتأهيل والتدريب المهني، وشركة المؤيد للكمبيوتر الشرق الأوسط. ونريد أن ننتهز الفرصة لتقديم الشكر والامتنان لهذه الرعاية الكريمة من السفارة الهندية لدى مملكة البحرين، والتي تعكس حرصها واهتمامها على تعزيز نهج الاستدامة وتحقيق أهدافه لبناء مستقبل مستدام للبشرية. كما نود أن نلفت إلى افتخارنا باليوبيل الذهبي للعلاقات الدبلوماسية لمملكة البحرين وجمهورية الهند، مما ساهم أيضاً في تعزيز العلاقات الثقافية والإنسانية بين البلدين. Your Excellency Ambassador Piyush Shrivastava, Ambassador of India to Bahrain, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome you all to the International Virtual Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Sustainability and Renewable Energy, which is organized by the International Group of Artificial Intelligence and GEC Media Group in partnership with the Embassy of India in Bahrain, Nasser Vocational Training Center, and Al-Muayyad Computers Middle East. We would like to take the opportunity to express our thanks and gratitude for the generous patronage of His Excellency Ambassador Piyush Shrivastava, Ambassador of India to Bahrain, which reflects his keenness and interest in promoting the artificial intelligence and sustainability approach and achieving its goals that helps in leading the transition to a more sustainable future. We also are proud of the Golden Jubilee of diplomatic relations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the Republic of India, which also strengthen the cultural and business relations between the two friendly countries. السيدات والسادة المحترمون، مؤخراً شهدت أنظمة الطاقة تطوراً ملحوظاً إلى جانب تطور الأنظمة الذكية والحلول الرقمية، ولطالما كانت مملكة البحرين من الدول المبادرة بتبني واعتماد أنظمة ذكية وأساليب مبتكرة وحلول استراتيجية في جميع المجالات، وقد حان الوقت إلى استهداف هذه الأنظمة والاستراتيجيات لتكون جزءاً لا يتجزأ من منشآتنا لتحقيق الفائدة المرجوة والوصول إلى الحياد الصفري المناخي إلى جانب الاستدامة. ومن خلال هذا العرض المرئي نهدف إلى الخروج بحلول وأفكار مبتكرة لضمان استدامة الموارد للأجيال القادمة بتوظيف الذكاء الاصطناعي ترجمة لاستراتيجية مملكة البحرين وتطلعاتها في هذا المجال. Through this conference, we aim to come up with innovative solutions and ideas to ensure the sustainability of resources for future generations by employing artificial intelligence as a translation of the strategy and aspirations of the Kingdom of Bahrain in this field. الحفل الكريم، اسمحوا لي أن أدعو الأستاذ أرون شنكر مدير جلسات اليوم لإدارة العرض. Please allow me to call Mr. Arun Shankar, our moderator, to take forward the proceedings of this conference.
Thank you very much, Dalal Bhumeda for the wonderful opening speech. I thought I would say a few words, but you have actually said everything possible. But anyway, so good day everyone and Salam Alaikum. On behalf of IGOI, GEC Media Group and Embassy of India in Bahrain, welcome to all the attendees in this virtual summit on the role of artificial intelligence in sustainability and renewable energy. So before I introduce the lineup of the fantastic speakers we have and His Excellency, just a few words which come to my mind about sustainability and AI. By now, global organizations have understood the importance of tracking, measuring and reporting Scope 1, Scope 2 and Scope 3 emissions and the importance of 2030 and 2050 milestones. But while progress is being made in the direct environmental impacts, only 15 to 40% of reporting companies are engaging with their suppliers on climate change, and that is our Scope 3. It's urgent that companies mobilize measurements and action down the entire supply chain to achieve the scale required to avert the well-known global climate crisis. So, brings this summit into direct spotlight, and in this virtual summit, we will discuss the role of AI in sustainability and renewable energy. Taking part in today's virtual summit, and also it is my pleasure to introduce the following. His Excellency and Ambassador Piyush Srivastava, Ambassador of India to the Kingdom of Bahrain. Dr. Jasim Haji, President, International Group of Artificial Intelligence Community. And our four respected speakers, Vineet Agarwal, Partner at SG Analytics. Dr. Shahnawaz Khan, Assistant Professor at the School of ICT, Bahrain Polytechnic. Dr. Chiranjeev Roy, Senior Vice President for Data Science and Analytics at SG Analytics. And Siniraj Pulari from the Faculty of ED ICT at Bahrain Polytechnic. So welcome to all of you. And we look forward to an absolutely fantastic session ahead. But before I call on His Excellency to open this fantastic virtual summit, a few notes on housekeeping. All attendees are on mute throughout this virtual session. However, we invite attendees to share their questions for the speakers through the chat option. And we'll be happy to take them up at the end of this virtual summit. So once again, let's get together and launch this virtual summit. And I would now like to invite His Excellency and Ambassador Piyush Srivastava to give his keynote speech. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Arun Shankar. Distinguished speakers and dear participants, Salam Alaikum, good afternoon, Namaskar to all of you. Let me begin by conveying my greetings and best wishes to all of you on the holy month of Ramadan and also Eid Mubarak in advance. It is my pleasure to be with all of you in this conference on artificial intelligence in sustainability and renewable energy. I must congratulate the International Group of Artificial Intelligence for selecting such a relevant and interesting topic. As we all know, India and Bahrain enjoy deep-rooted historic and civilizational ties and people-to-people connect. India is one of the largest trading partners of Bahrain. I am happy to share that last year we achieved highest ever bilateral trade crossing US $1.5 billion mark. India is also sixth largest investor in Bahrain with total cumulative investment of about US $1.25 billion. The civilizational and historic ties between India and Bahrain have now diversified into a number of areas such as space technology, cyber security, maritime security, renewable energy, etc., reflecting the contemporary times. In fact, as Dr. Haji and also Mr. Arun Shankar just said that our two countries are celebrating the golden jubilee of establishment of diplomatic relations this year. This is a celebration of our historical bonds of friendship as well as the contemporary bilateral cooperation. In this context, coming to the field of renewable energy, I am very happy to share with all of you that Bahrain has last month became a member of International Solar Alliance. It is the 86th member. A bilateral MOU for cooperation in the field of renewable energy was also signed in 2018 And we also had a joint working group meeting last year, where emphasis was also given to the cooperation between the private sectors of the two countries. It was subsequently followed by a B2B meeting, which was supported by the two relevant government ministries, both from India and Bahrain. And from India, there was a large participation from solar manufacturer associations, wind turbine, as well as hydrogen association, and a large number of companies from Bahrain. The purpose of my telling all of you is to give you an idea that there are already governmental bilateral mechanisms in place, as well as the efforts have been ongoing to promote collaboration between the private sectors of two countries in the area of renewable energy. However, our ambitions are much larger, as there is a large untapped as well as future potential for bilateral cooperation in this sector. During the COP26 meeting in Glasgow, both countries have set ambitious net zero greenhouse gas emission targets. India has set it in 2070 and Bahrain has done it in 2060. Accordingly, both countries are pushing for greater participation of renewable energy in the entire energy mix of the country. India is working towards achieving the target of 450 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2030. Needless to say, due to ever-increasing importance of renewable energy to tackle the challenges of global warming and international developments in this regard, forging more partnerships and greater push are required to achieve our goals. To look at the aspect of sustainability, use of artificial intelligence in renewables and sustainability is an important aspect. Friends, distinguished speakers, artificial intelligence systems today are transforming industries and becoming an indispensable part of our daily lives. AI is definitely going to help renewable energy industry by balancing electricity supply and demand needs in the real-time basis, optimizing energy use and storage to reduce rates and hence making it commercially sustainable and ultimately moving towards carbon neutrality. AI will also play a crucial role in managing the complexity of deploying power to industrial facilities, office buildings, homes, and wherever needed. It is also a very important tool to ensure a more resilient and flexible grid in terms of unpredictable weather conditions and climate calamities. Another area where AI is playing a crucial role is the agriculture, where they supply the farm data, which is very useful for increasing the crop yield. AI allows us to grow more food with fewer resources, including land, which is particularly important for Bahrain. At the same time, there is a pressing need for making AI systems sustainable, which can be done with the help of renewable energy. AI can be very energy intensive due to massive consumption required. As per a data, globally, the carbon footprint for data centers is estimated at more than 2% of total global carbon emissions. This highlights the critical importance of having sustainable AI, which can be addressed by increasing use of renewable resources. There are many more dimensions, aspects, and interdependence of artificial intelligence, sustainability, and renewable energy, on which our esteemed speakers and experts would be throwing light, which I am very eager to hear. So I think I'll stop here. I'm confident that this conference will lead to increasing our bilateral cooperation in this crucial sector. I once again wish all the best to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency and Ambassador Piyush Srivastava. This was a really interesting short keynote which you gave. I like the few points you mentioned about the solar manufacturers and wind turbine association from India participating in Bahrain. And of course, you mentioned some really relevant points about the AI use cases in Bahrain around agriculture and the resilient grid. So these are all fascinating topics, and I'm sure our four speakers would address them somewhere in their discussions. But now I would like to invite Conference Chairman Dr. Jasim Haji, the President of International Group of Artificial Intelligence Community, to give his welcome note an introduction to the event. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Arun, dear friend. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I will start with my deepest gratitude to His Excellency, Ambassador of Republic of India to the Kingdom of Bahrain, for his keynote speech and the support. Ever since we have known him in Bahrain, with his dynamicness and wiseness, he has been only supporting us in various fields, but not to mention in area of the technology and specifically in the artificial intelligence. He has been not only providing with encouragement to bodies like IGOI, but also the guidelines on how to take further steps in terms of relationship between Bahrain and India in this key role. We always learn from India's experience and innovations when they started back in 80s, developing Silicon Valleys, and Bahrain being a small island, placing itself as a hub, and we call it the pearl of the Gulf and the Middle East. We were the pearl in the sea, but now we want to be a pearl in the technology and in AI within the Middle East. I would like to also, before I start further, to thank my dear friend Tushar Sahu, who is the mastermind behind all this from the GEC, and other partners, namely Mr. Hosseini, Science Sheikh Nasser's IR&D Center, and the colleagues participating in this conference. Artificial Intelligence Group has established itself less than 12 months ago, with representatives of over 27 countries, and ever since it's been growing. We have held several conferences, mainly virtual conferences, in areas of the higher education, the judiciary, sports, data science, and so on. We also had with the GCC Council the first physical conference in Dubai Expo 2020 with the representations from Their Excellencies, the Ministers of the Judiciaries and the GCC. We are continuing on a monthly basis and to provide more dissemination of what is artificial intelligence and which areas specifically can be used, as is our topic today. They will be talking about, is it AI and sustainability, or are we talking about sustainable AI? So these are the challenges that are coming up. Our next event will be also AI and the health under the patronage of Her Excellency, the Minister of Health. We would like to not only talk about the artificial intelligence as a concept, but we would like to talk about it as a way of life, how it helps. How do we make use of the data? The data in the whole world is expected to reach to 19.2 zettabytes by 2026. And zettabytes, just before you Google it, it's 21 zeros. Imagine that massive number of data that will be human challenge to handle in terms of the governance, security, and the analytics. I'm sure our friends who are specialized in the data analytics, data mining, etc., will share the light on that as we go on. I would like to end my speech again to thank everybody and wish you a successful day. Back to you, Arun.
Thank you, Dr. Jasim Haji. Very interesting summary of IGOI activities, and I like your takeaway on AI and sustainability versus sustainability in AI. Very interesting topic. And as His Excellency Ambassador had also mentioned about the large carbon footprint of data centers, especially increasing because of AI. So thank you once again. I would now like to invite the first speaker of this virtual summit, Vineet Agarwal, partner at SG Analytics, who would be speaking on achieving sustainable development goals through data and analytics. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Arun. Warm good afternoon to His Excellency and participants. Very, very excited to be participating in this summit as a practitioner of sustainability and analytics. Looking forward to sharing my views with all of you and to learn more about the applicability of AI in sustainability from all of you. I would like to cover a few things in my speech today. To begin with, right, I would like to demystify the concept of ESG and sustainability for everyone. Why sustainability matters so much today. How all the different stakeholders, including countries, regulators, policymakers, as well as corporates, are collaborating to find the right solutions to drive sustainability. I'll also cover aspects of global sustainable development goals, which a lot of countries have already adopted and will continue to adopt going forward. And, my views on how we are seeing artificial intelligence, data analytics, and technology reshaping the entire sustainability landscape, right? And then, of course, my fellow panelists will cover some very, very relevant use cases and their experiences. Just wanted to set some context, right, on why ESG matters so much and is so relevant today more than it ever was, right? Various factors are in place, right? Some statistics are in front of you. Today, more than 80% of global companies are reporting, their physical market, climate-related risks, with all the stakeholders. And we have seen a massive change here over the last decade or so. The shift really started with the European countries, North American countries, making sustainability a mainstream initiative for them, but the rest of the world is now following suit very, very fast, right? There's a huge impact of especially the climate-related events on global economy, right? We're talking of an impact of in excess of $1 trillion. Another very interesting trend, and a trend which we are experiencing more and more with the millennials as well as the Gen Zs, right, who are driving a lot of the buying behaviors, is that this section of our population is a lot more conscious and aware about the importance of sustainability than the previous generations, right? So almost 3/4 of the consumers today look at sustainability aspects, followed by businesses and corporates before making a buying behavior, before thinking about working with such corporates, right? So very, very important for businesses globally to embrace sustainability. And of course, this also presents a huge opportunity for everyone, right? To come up, one, of course, make ESG mainstream in their operations. And this will lead to a lot many innovative solutions coming on board, adoption of those solutions. This will create a lot of job opportunities for everyone. So according to me, the next decade, couple of decades is going to be about ESG and how artificial intelligence and technology can ensure that we are ready to meet the 2030, 2050, 2070 goals we have set out for ourselves. Moving on, right? Just wanted to talk a little bit about the landscape, right? Focusing more on environment and climate here. We also have the social and the governance angle, very, very important. But I'll focus more on environmental related aspects in our discussion today. As I was mentioning, right, a lot of the sustainability initiatives initially started with European countries, followed by North America. Now Asia Pacific, Middle East, and the rest of the world are also fast joining the bandwagon. There are a number of regulations, number of frameworks, policies in place now. So there is a bit of an alphabet soup out there, and I would like to demystify everything. At the core of all these regulations, frameworks, policies are some very, very common goals, right, which are applicable for all of us. Hence, fundamentally, we believe that all these frameworks, regulations will converge more and more as we move forward, and it will also help companies, their value chain, in understanding what is material for them, what is material for their stakeholders, and accordingly track, report, analyze, and act on the right data and insights. Right? What is very, very important here, a key takeaway from this slide is in terms of some of the common objectives, right? I think the UN Sustainable Development Goals are extremely important, which came into effect in 2015, which was adopted by all the United Nations member states. We have the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, we have the Paris Climate Agreement, we have the PRI frameworks as well, right? All these have similar or common objectives in place, which we are working towards. Focusing more on sustainable development goals and how it's very important for everyone to collaborate together. If you look at all the 17 sustainable development goals, it covers economy in general, society, as well as environment, right? As I said, started with the United Nations members joining. We've also seen that Kingdom of Bahrain now has an initiative around adoption of SDGs, very, very important. Many other countries in the region are also following suit. A lot of companies are working towards coming up with the right solutions to drive our journey towards SDGs. So again, a very, very important pillar in the overall ESG space. I would like to cover a few aspects of how we see all the stakeholders now coming together, collaborating to fight against climate change, right, and its impact. To begin with, we have all the government and regulators, and this is a very good example of how all the stakeholders have come together to share their experiences, right? Customers and how customers are driving businesses to make sustainable business decisions, are our society, all the workforce employees which are working for companies, and then all the various not-for-profit organizations, NGOs, multilateral organizations, how all of them are coming together, especially with regards to SDG goals number 13 and 17, right, which are very, very important, right? We are working towards the net zero goals. So very, very important for us to keep all these things in mind as we find the right solutions. As an organization, we are working in the sustainability space as an analytics provider, and we see a lot of collaboration happening between all these participants at various levels, right, including the investment community, which is taking sustainable investment very, very seriously, right? And there are strong frameworks now in place to ensure that the funds they are allocating are going towards the SDGs targets or towards the net zero initiatives all of us have in place. Where is this really taking us, right? And how we see technology, artificial intelligence coming together here to achieve our net zero targets. Quickly covering, I think Dr. Haji spoke about Bahrain also setting out its net zero targets, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE, India, all the countries have now promised net zero goals. Very, very important that we make use of the next 2 or 3 decades to make rapid strides here, right? Where do we see maximum work being done from technology companies, artificial intelligence providers in these areas, right? I have covered a few, right? The renewable space, the electric vehicle battery space, entire circular economy, building and construction, hydrogen, sustainable fuels, agri, nature-based solutions, carbon-related aspects. There are, many of these themes which climate technology companies are now finding solutions for. And with the plethora of data already available and alternate data sets which can be made available through the use of AI, we believe that new solutions will continue to emerge. This also presents a lot of opportunities for AI companies. We've already started seeing the trend, right? Now have more than 3,000 climate tech startups identified, well-funded, both from based on pledges from the governments, from institutional as well as private investors, as well as from other bodies, right? Working towards finding very, very interesting solutions. And I'm sure my colleagues will also share a few examples. Lot of investment is moving towards climate technology solutions, talking of investments in excess of $87 billion USD over the past year or so. This is one of the fastest growing subsegments. If we look at the technology space in general, right? As an analytics company in the sustainability space, where we come in is really help companies understand what is material for them, what is how to track them, how to report it, understand and help them adopt the right ESG targets for all of them, so that they are also contributing towards achievement of net zero targets for themselves and for the society in general. So, in summary, just wanted to close out my session here with a lot of excitement about the trends we are witnessing. Some of the use cases we've already seen on applicability of AI and technology in bringing in sustainable solutions, especially with regards to tracking scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, carbon footprints, also helping corporates understand what is important material for them and have the right solutions in place on the ground. We've also started seeing some very, very innovative AI-based solutions, which are also helping individuals, right, in tracking their own carbon footprint, right? And imagine how cool it would be for all of us to know in an app, what are we consuming on a daily basis, and as individuals, whether we are moving towards, the net zero goals ourselves or not, right? So I think this transformation will happen when all of us are aware of the implications. Once we are all equipped with the right data, insights, and analytics, all of us will start to take the right decisions as individuals, as business houses, as policymakers, influencers in the ecosystem to make our planet a much better place to live for the next generation. So I would like to conclude here. Thank you so much. Would welcome questions at the end of the session. Arun, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vineet. Absolutely fascinating presentation. I especially liked the remark you made about the alphabet soup. I mean, there are, as you mentioned, regulations, policies, frameworks, and they're all converging as we go forward. But then businesses can't wait. They need to, as you rightly said, generate value out of them. Absolutely fascinating. I also liked some of the statistics: 78 climate unicorns, 87.5 billion investment into technology solutions. Hopefully, in the end, we can look a little bit on the technology solutions. So thank you once again, Vineet. I would now like to invite the second speaker of this virtual summit, Dr. Shahnawaz Khan, Assistant Professor at the School of ICT at Bahrain Polytechnic, who would be speaking on AI for Sustainable Future. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for His Excellency, Mr. Piyush Srivastava, President Dr. Jasim Haji, the fellow panelists, the attendees for having me here. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all. So today I'll be talking about AI for sustainable future. In this talk, we will be discussing briefly, actually, as Mr. Vineet has covered mainly the industrial side, I will cover more on the theoretical side and the basic fundamental of AI and sustainability. So first of all, I will try to find out the distinction between the sustainability and sustainable development and development goals, where we can apply artificial intelligence in sustainability, and some example, practical example, though Mr. Vineet has already covered, but I will cover a little bit more differently. Then the role of different stakeholders, how we can intervene, how we can contribute for a sustainable future, and then different aspects of sustainability and how AI can help them. Okay, so as defined by the United Nations at Brundtland Commission in 1987, the sustainability is defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. For example, there are nowadays almost 140 developing countries in the world. Just a second. Okay, in the world, they are seeking the ways of the like meeting their development needs, and because of which they are like there is a rapid change in their infrastructure. There is a fast industrialization going on. For example, sometimes this industrialization caused deforestation, the cutting the trees and everything, and which also lead to climate change and the emission from the industries as well. So therefore, there must be some concrete steps or efforts which has to be made to the to ensure that development today that does not affect the future generation. There, regarding the sustainability, there are three different aspects, or also called as pillars or the dimension of the sustainability. The first one is the environmental sector or aspect. Then the second is the economical, and third is the social one. The social aspect is not widely defined, and it's not there's not a lot of research on this available, but still you will find many people working on this one, and this is also one of the core sector, or you can see the core aspect of the Sustainable Development Goals from the Agenda of 2030 of United Nations. The difference between the sustainability and sustainable development is when we talk about the sustainability based upon the agenda provided by the UN 2030 agenda. This is also called as Vision 2030, and it contains 17 sustainable development goals, and the total containing around 169 targets as balancing the three aspects of the sustainability, which are economical, social, and environmental. So the difference is that sustainability is often thought as a long-term goal. So that means a more sustainable world, for example. So that's when we are talking about the long-term goals, so we are talking about sustainability. But to achieve that particular goal, we need some pathways, we need some processes. Okay, so for those processes or those pathways, they come under the sustainable development. So for example, it can be under sustainable agriculture and forestry, it can be sustainable production and consumption, good government, excuse me, research and technology transfer. So all of these, they contribute in this use in the sustainable development to achieve the sustainability. Artificial intelligence, first of all, the artificial basic, we know, everyone knows that it's the computer science branch, and it assists the machines to find the solution to complex problems in a more human-like fashion. So what we do, we try to teach the machine so that they can mimic like a human brain. So there are different approaches for achieving artificial intelligence. So nowadays, the most commonly one is the machine learning, but there are different approaches as well. For example, in natural language processing, we can use machine learning or statistical based machine translation or other like sentiment analysis or other things. But there are other approaches like rule-based approaches also there, similarly in computer vision as well. So though machine learning is the most commonly known as AI, but there are many other approaches as well. In machine learning, as Dr. Haji mentioned initially, that we need large amount of data. We need data points, and the data is being generated at very fast speed. But this data is used to teach the program and learn the program learn itself from the data points to identify the patterns, and then those patterns helps us in identifying or in predicting the future targets. Okay, so for example, I was working on a research on predicting the CO2 by Bahrain. So we need to collect the data for that historical data for CO2 emission. So in my research, I collected around the last 170 to 80 years data, but that is also not enough because we have the public domain data is available only for annual. We need more accurate data and more detailed data to provide a better modeling. In sustainability, how artificial intelligence can help. Usually when we consider artificial intelligence in sustainability, we consider for the good only. Consider that, okay, this artificial intelligence can help us achieve sustainability in this way or that way, but there are always some negative or side effect of every technology or everything. For example, in cybersecurity, like you learn the cybersecurity only for securing your data, but the same can be used for hacking into other people's data as well. So a study published in Nature Communication, it analyzed the side effects or inhibitors and as well as, of course, the enablers or targets by AI. The targets, 169 targets set by the Agenda 2030. So out of those targets, we'll have in the next slide. So first of all, for instance, a country with little ethical scrutiny or transparency or democratic measure could lead AI enabling nationalism, discrimination, and undemocratic election results. How it can happen? This can happen like, for example, there are no proper regulatory bodies has not been set up in that particular country, and they are not overseeing or overlooking at not overseeing and analyzing every aspect where the AI is being used and how it is being used. So then it can influence the future. And of course, AI is one of the most influence which will have on the future of the humanity. So out of those 169 targets, if there are multiple targets in each aspect, as we discussed, that there are three aspects of the sustainability, environment, economy, and society. So in environment, there are almost 30% of the targets which can be slowed down by using AI. So though they're on the positive side, there are 93% of the targets they can AI can help us in achieving those, but still there is as a negative effect, there can be 30% of the targets can be targeted or attacked in a way that AI will slow down the progress in those areas. Similarly in economy as well, 33% targets, they can be inhibited by AI, and similarly in the societal area aspect as well, that around 38% of the targets can be inhibited by AI. So there's some example of AI for sustainable future. So for example, as His Excellency was talking about the data centers. So of course, Google, one of the widely used company, of course, and have a large amount of data sources as well, or data center as well. So they develop AI model to reduce the energy load for their data centers, which reduce the energy cost of cooling by 40%. And after reducing, so if the energy consumption has been reduced, so it will also reduce the heating as well, and it will also further reduce the carbon emission as well. Similarly, IBM has developed their one model for weather forecasting, which is 30% more accurate than the normal weather forecasting model. So it helps them in renewable energy companies to better manage their plans, maximizing the renewable energy production and reducing the carbon emission. Then there's a company called Excel Energy. It's a coal burning and nitrous oxide emitting utility company. So they use AI to better predict energy consumption patterns, and then they adapt its operating systems, which has significantly boost the efficiency around 20%. Then there is a climate advocacy think tank called Carbon Tracker. So they use satellite imagery to track the emission for coal plants. Okay, so using the satellite data, they help guide the investment towards lower footprinting ventures. So of course, AI can be used at the same time, AI can be used for good, and there are more positive for using AI in sustainability than the negative ones. They are different. Actually, all of us are stakeholders in achieving the sustainability, but the most dominating, or you can say the most key players are organized governments, tech developers, companies, academia, and non-governmental organizations. And some researchers has outlined the action that these stakeholders can play in to create an improved enabling environment. For example, government can take an agile approach to target regulation and policies to support on including the data access, R&D, and digital infrastructure, and in the skill investment as well. So in a way that it will all lead to the wider environmental policy. Similarly, the tech developers, they can provide access to the improved data asset or the complementary access to the tools and technologies, so that the other people, they can also use those technology who doesn't have those kind of resources, so they can use these resources and do their research or achieve some goal towards the sustainability. Then there are companies, they have to embed these consideration of the environmental impact consideration, for example, into their strategies in deploying the artificial intelligence. And they also have to work on upskilling and reskilling their workforces as well, so that they can understand the effect of the environmental effect, or the uses of different kind of tools and technology, how they can impact or influence the carbon emission and other environmental factors of the sustainability. Academia can establish multidisciplinary research areas, or for example, create a project in a way that which combine AI and relevant domain, for example, education or research or industrial partnership. And then it can also in the end lead to the better sustainable environment. Non-government organization, they can explore, for example, where AI and complementary technology can be used in different areas to create the benefit for society. So another key aspect of sustainability, environmental and aspects. So I'll just briefly discuss about the role of AI in each one of them. So researchers believe that if to unlock the potential of AI, the 5 principal approach is, if it is followed, so they will be the key enabler in environmental sustainability, or to achieve the environmental sustainability. First is facilitating the awareness, alignment, collaboration, and multidisciplinary partnership. The second is ensuring that we start with the responsible AI. Responsible AI means we are designing and developing the AI product for the good of the employees, for the business, and even the consumer who are consuming those, okay, or who are directly impacted by those. And addressing the digital infrastructure needs, access to the AI tools, data, and the complementary technologies, then providing opportunity for training and upskilling or reskilling to adapt to the sectoral transformation. Because if when you implement strategies into the businesses and everything for sustainability, then there will be a quite change in everything. So we have to upskill or reskill the existing workforce so that they can adapt to the new environment. Then increasing the research R&D from research to scalable commercial deployment. So that means whatever research is being done, for example, AI can be used in the agriculture sector. I see hundreds of new papers published every day. Okay, so but how many of those research papers they are actually being commercialized? So there should be something, some kind of policies or something, or some places where this can be commercialized or actually deployed for the good of the society. Economical sustainability, the second aspect of sustainability. So in AI, using AI, it has been predicted that if we use AI for environmental application, it can boost the global GDP by 3.1 to 4.4%. So which will also reduce the global greenhouse gas emission around 1.5 to 4% by 2030. If we, instead of just doing the business as usual as we are doing this, and we start using AI for the environmental application and for sustainability. And of course, though this is most of this benefit will be captured by the Europe, East Asia, and North America as only the reason because they have large share in the global GDP. So AI application in energy also, for example, 2.2%, they have this much impact, than transport around 1.7%, and also as mentioned by one of the earlier speaker, that it can also water and agriculture can also have important role to play for environmental sustainability. For societal sustainability, AI can also help in identifying the areas. For example, we can use satellite imaging and other techniques for identifying the poverty, and then we can, based upon those identification, we can foster international action using different kind of AI or different kind of actions. So, and it can also help us in developing smart cities, and then creating a network of for example, autonomous vehicle, smart appliances, and other things. So which can then lead to the responsive or smart electricity, you can say smart grids, which can produce or provide the electricity based upon the demand. Then we can embed AI in the renewable energy production, for example, based upon the current environment. Like, for example, if it is very sunny outside, so that in that case, the solar plants can be used for supplying the energy. Or, for example, it is windy outside, then the wind plants can be, or wind turbines can be used for supplying the energy. So that means based upon the environmental factors or how the environment is there outside, we can use AI and develop smart grids which can send the electricity or can provide the electricity to certain sectors or areas based upon the demand, and adjust according to the environment as well. Okay, but now the negative impact, on the other hand, it may also lead to the additional qualification requirement for any of the job. For example, if include sustainability everywhere, so one of the sustainable development goal for United Nations is to to provide more job opportunities. But if we embed sustainability and AI in every place, then it will require more, you can say, more additional requirements, which will create inequalities, so which kind of will be inhibiting the job availability goal. Okay, this is one of the analysis which I was doing on CO2 emission per capita of GCC countries. So I analyzed the data for around last 100 years. So this is just for the last 50 years. So if you see that the Bahrain, I was mainly focusing on Bahrain. So Bahrain has an upward trends. Like you see in each year that CO2 emission is increasing, though in certain of the years it has gone down as well, but the overall trend is going up. And based upon that, we developed a machine learning based, a neural network based model for predicting the CO2 emission due to electricity power generation in Bahrain. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Shahnawaz Khan. Very, very interesting. And like you mentioned, theoretical approach, but very rock solid, if I can say. I liked one of the 2-3 things you mentioned. One was the IBM making forecasting weather with 30% more accuracy. I was using a solar energy app, to see how the sun moves on my flat. It's the sun moves from minus 23 degrees to plus 23 degrees, 46 degrees of movement, and the room temperature keeps changing. That app was actually showing the actual air mass temperature over Dubai or wherever we are. So very real-time type of applications coming now to help sustainability. Just an offshoot of what you mentioned. I also like the negative 30% to 40% on the SDG 169 goals. I am sure I'd like to ask a few questions on that, how we can interpret it. So thank you once again, Dr. Shahnawaz. I would now like to invite third speaker of this virtual summit, Dr. Chiranjeev Roy, who would be speaking on analytics and sustainability. So welcome, Dr. Chiranjeev. Over to you.
Thank you, Arun. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. Greetings to His Excellency, Indian Ambassador to Bahrain, Mr. Srivastav, Dr. Haji, and distinguished panelists, and welcome everybody, and greetings on behalf of all of us for the pious months of Ramadan, and as well as Eid Mubarak in advance on this perspective. In the last 2 presentations, Vinny talked about how the global model is going to change and what are people doing in order to do things. Then Dr. Khan spoke about artificial intelligence and the utilization of artificial intelligence and what the world is doing towards it, and where the GCC countries are working towards. I'm going to talk about analytics and sustainability. Please do understand that artificial intelligence is the end product. Analytics is the build that you do, right? From the perspective. It starts smaller. It starts from analytics. It can be business or academic analytics. And we'll talk about today some of the actual use cases, and we'll see how we have been trying to do and how sustainability is going to be utilized. Now, how does analytics work? At the core of analytics is science, any science, with data and science, right? If you look at this very carefully in the diagram, it starts from getting data from multiple places. It goes through a life cycle. In the between, you can see the circle, right? There are about 6 to 7 steps. We understand the problem, we mine the problem, we clean the data, we explore the data, we find the nuances that we want to do, right? We do a predictive modeling on top of it, and we finally develop the visualization. What you actually get to see is a dashboard, which is the most easiest one to actually look forward to. And then every one of us takes a decision. If I give an example, even the ACs and the power system in the house is going to be connected, and you would be able to see it in your mobile app. And it's not very far. A lot of people might be doing it today. But in the next 2 decades, that's what is going to happen. What does it mean? We have access to a lot of data, a lot of information. It needs to be first visualized by all of us, and then be utilized to develop and solve a particular problem. And we are going to talk about some of them. But let's see first what the United Nations is talking about. So let's start from the Sustainable Development Goals. We have almost 17 goals at a broader level: no poverty, hunger, inequalities, economic growth, sustainable cities, clean energy, climate action, right? Gender equality. But what does it mean to the analytics world, basically, right? Now, the Global Pulse, United Nations Global Pulse, right, understands the data. So if the data is big, it's called big data, and there are multiple nuances. So let's take it from there. Data science and analytics can contribute to sustainable development. Now, if we look at this, and the blog is already there, please go ahead and visit it. If you start from no poverty, you can find the spending patterns of mobile phone services, which can provide proxy indicators of income level at a city, at a region, at a country, and an entire holistic population itself. Hunger, we'll talk about it in more detail, but tracking the food prices online, which is listed, it can monitor the food security in a real time. We already talked about satellite imagery. Climatic action can be tracked by satellite data, crowdsourcing the witness of the accounts, and open data can track deforestation, right? Encroachments, right? Water sanitization, sensors are everywhere, as I said, right? Even the ACs, the lights, and the fans that we would be using, everything is connected to the sensor, right? From the perspective. And we'll talk about some of them. It's the sensors which actually works. We take out the data, and then you actually see it. Clean water and sanitization would be very much important, right? The sensors connected to the water pumps can track access of the clean water, right? And it can actually tell you how much water you would be requiring tomorrow morning, right? From the perspective. One of the aspects which Dr. Khan talked about was natural language processing, which is primarily text analytics. It can be utilized to reduce inequality. How? The speech to text. So when we talk, it will be converted in text, right? On local radio content, reveal discrimination concerns and support policies. Though it's a bit diplomatic to say that, but it can be utilized, right? So are we creating a bias in the society? right? That can be even tracked from the perspective. We are already using GPS. So GPS data can be used for traffic control, improving public transport, utilization of the public transport, right? Point A to point B and so on and so forth. So the industry, innovation and infrastructure is already working on. So every preamble, the work is going on across the world, right? Some of them might convert into a artificial intelligence product or become bigger product and so on and so forth, right? From the perspective. But analytics on a whole, which preambles with data science, right, is already in place, right? And depending upon maturity of the countries and the collaboration between different stakeholders, academic, business, and the scientific community, right, or the digitalization community, right, to be precise, we go ahead and mature, basically, right? You require partners to do it, which we'll talk about. Now let's go through some of the two use cases or typical problems. The first one is carbon footprint. How do we track and act with digital data? So according to Boston Consulting Group, one of the biggest consulting groups these days, right? According to them, the CO2 until 2020 is going to be about 5.3 gigatons. Unimaginable to get the amount of entire values that is going to talk about. It's about 10%, which amounts to about 5 to 10% of reduction needed to meet the Paris agreement, which is a very big thing in nature, right? From the perspective. Data science and analytics can improve the whole carbon management process, right? As Dr. Khan is saying, right? From the perspective. How? We just heard about that fact. Google Carbon Intelligent Computing Project, right, is using data science to reduce the carbon footprint in the data center. What does it mean? We're all talking, right, on this platform. The data is getting stored somewhere. That's called a data center, right? And Google is working on intelligently reducing the carbon footprint. Another company, logistics company, UPS in America, has been using something called Orion. It's an optimization navigation software, right, which uses data-driven routing optimizations for more than a decade, and it has collected so much of data that the algorithm is self-sufficiently able to improve itself because it's been there in usage for last 10 years. It is able to save millions of miles driven, which leads to reducing fuel and labor cost, of course, carbon emission, right? You need to give time to analytics to mature and work with analytics to do this perspective, right? From the nature. Let's go down to something very basic. And what are we doing during the month of Ramadan? Dubai Carbon was a very interesting area where, out of other things, one of the things that you can do there is calculate your footprint. It's not your footprint, it's your food print, right? So you can see the diet that you're taking, and you can go ahead and check it out and utilize that. You select some drink and how often do you want to do it. You can click on that, giving some questions. You can calculate your actual footprint, right? From the perspective. These are very basic utilizations of how do you calculate your carbon footprint. This directly impacts every individual and society, right? From the perspective. My intention of giving you this aspect was the fact that technology has to be acted as an enabler. And till the time human beings, every one of us, do not utilize technology to solve, sustainability achievements cannot happen, because it has to happen from grassroots, right? One of the examples, great ones, right, is what I'm presenting here, right, from the perspective, right? And there might be multiple ones of them, right? We might be trying in Bahrain, Saudi, so on and so forth, right, from the perspective. But this is one of the examples. We should use it. Everyone should use it, or create one for ourselves. Like this, you can do it, create an app of yourself or your family, your home, your office, right? Including energy efficiencies and so on and so forth. Of course, you require a technology partner to do it, right? From the perspective, but this is achievable, right? From the perspective. Yes, it's not an ambition of government. It's for us as well. Yeah. This is one of the examples. We can reduce. Next, talk about one of the other bigger problems, right? Food wastage and hunger. While going through helpline, I found this information and I would like to share with you is that we're talking about a wastage of 350 kilograms of food per person per year, right? $13 billion, 13 billion AD worth of food is wasted every year in UAE, right? However, out of 10 people, 9 people are concerned about it, which is great, right? So if you really work on it with 13 billion AD, you can actually buy 150, you can take out 150,000 cars off the road, right? From that perspective. But just by reducing 15% of food waste. And it's not just UAE, everywhere. If you look at this, according to United Nations and Food and Agriculture, to be precise, 1/3 of the food produced globally each year goes to waste, right? From the perspective. Landfilling and everything happens, right? From the perspective, including United States and China. It amounts to straggling hundreds of millions of dollars of food every year, right? On this perspective. Now, this to say nothing of the devastating environmental and human and welfare cost is getting into. So what can we do? Look at this example. I think it will be, we can start, see, as I said, right? Everything starts from home, right? One of the biggest examples, let's talk about zero wastage, second use case, right? You can use advanced analytics for a smart kitchen at a commercial restaurant. It can be at my home as well, right? We utilize computer vision, what you can see on the left-hand side, right? Starting, and it can predict and tell you the short list of 5 items which we are throwing every day, right? In our garbage. It can shortlist you automatically 5 items. With a device, you can track every garbage in action in your kitchen. Finally, you get a scalable dashboard which uses data, IoT are the sensors through which you actually get the information. Computer vision is for the camera and provides insight as an analytics dashboard. You can see on the right hand side, classic example of an brace firm, right? From the perspective. You can do it for the entire restaurant. Once you do it for one entire restaurant, you can do it for the entire chain of restaurants, right? From your perspective. And this goes automatically. You would be able to utilize advanced analytics for this. And does it require huge amount of investment or effort? No. It definitely requires something that you would like to encourage and utilize, right? From the perspective. And that's why I say analytics start at home, right? From the perspective. With these 2 examples, and there are a couple of multiple examples that we could have given in this short period of time, but I would take up questions, right? Digital analytics, data sciences, artificial intelligence can help you establish and find goals which are, of course, related to the SDGs of the United Nations, but beyond that itself. But everything starts from us. And we can do our part in doing this activity. Everybody of us can do this activity. And the way that we embraced science by taking a bulb and we never knew what the bulb could be doing, right? Today, we utilizing electricity and light, we have turned around the future. This can also go a long, long way. With that, I thank all of you for the patience to listen to me. And I return it back to Arun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chiranjeev. Very, very interesting hands-on solutions and hands-on use cases, especially like the part about the mobile service spending, like, for example, indicating income levels, you can get a distribution. I recently came across a very interesting statistic about UAE, which said that UAE mobile spending is amongst the top in the world. So I was a bit confused, but when I read it through, it's not saying the total mobile spending, because GCC are small countries. It says the average spending per connection. You see, and recently the mobile service providers are they're looking at escalating each subscriber to the higher and higher level, and I keep getting offers of a few $100 to give you unlimited talk time and unlimited data. So I think it's efficiency, it's a lot of things coming together. And definitely a mobile and sensor pattern is very interesting. Also, you mentioned the use cases of UPS and Orion, and I guess a few questions are coming in about how to model data. We'll take it up in the Q&A just after this. So thank you once again, Dr. Chiranjeev Roy. Absolutely fascinating presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so before I call the next speaker, that would be Sini Raj Pulari. I just want to once again flag to all the attendees, please post your questions in the chat option. We will be taking up the Q&A immediately after this session. And a lot of your questions, no matter how tough, this panel is absolutely top class, 4-speaker panel. They can answer any question that you have, if I can speak on their behalf, on analytics and sustainability. So please do post your questions. I see a few, but I need a lot, so we can make the Q&A session absolutely interesting. So over to you, Sini, just go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My deepest gratitude to His Excellency Piyush Srivastava sir, Dr. Jasim Haji, and Dr. Christos, Dr. Arun Shankar, panelists, participants. And thank you so much for giving this wonderful opportunity to be part of this 50 years of diplomatic relations between India and Bahrain. So it's a great honor. So as far as my topic is concerned, today I'll be talking about a little more deeper in artificial intelligence in agriculture. So it basically comes as an environmental perspective. So let's move ahead. So I'll be generally talking about what is AI, the major issues addressed in agriculture sector, and the applications. So this will be mainly in terms of more kind of applications related, and more of in terms of academia, more of applications that could even the students and the academy can come around and contribute to the sustainable agriculture for our countries. So this is something which have always taken into my mind, like when we used to see a lot of Star Wars and a lot of scientific fictions, this statement have always come into my mind that yeah, we are in the golden age of AI. But we have still only scratched the surface of AI. This is something which has hit me a lot many times. So I think we should understand the enormous amount of opportunities that are still awaiting us in terms of AI and for the sustainable future and renewable energy goals. So already many of our panelists have already talked about this. What is AI? So just to touch upon that, the most complex machine which I have ever seen is human, right? Human brain is the most complex machine. So whenever we talk about an artificial intelligence, we are making a machine more intelligent by inducing artificial intelligence onto it. So here, this is a small graph which shows you like where are we now? So we are basically in a state where the machines are less intelligent than humans. In 2040, it is supposed to be like equal to human intelligence. And in 2060, it is supposed to be far more greater than human intelligence. So we could just imagine the kind of impact that AI is going to make in our lives. So moving on to my topic, like what are the major issues addressed in agriculture sector? So in order to know about how AI can be used in agriculture, I think we should get to know about what are the major issues that comes in agriculture sector. So when we talk about the life cycle of agriculture, there are certain states like preparation of soil, the sowing of the seeds, adding fertilizers. There are various stages, and each and every stage basically requires and comes out with certain problems also. But when we look at the traditional issues that we always face, we have climatic factors like rainfall, the temperature, increasing deforestation, as Dr. Shanafas have already mentioned, and the soil nutrients. How we can actually increase the conserve the nutrient capacity of our soil, the weed protection, which is a greater issue. So all these issues are just very common in agriculture sector. And I just wanted to highlight this point. So we have many issues that could be addressed, but in that, when we take Bahrain or Middle East or MENA region, we could understand that this is a desert, mainly a desert region. So when we take the desert region, the issues are more complex. Like, there is depletion of groundwater. We have water scarcity. So we need to utilize and, use water at a very, very appropriate stage. Otherwise, we have water scarcity here. And encroachment of urbanization in the arable land. So these are all certain issues that we focus if we look at the geographical region, like both India and Bahrain. So does this affect us is a major question, of course. So we are going to, not only our future generation is going to get affected by all this. So this is the report by Big Facts and World Resource Institute. Like by 2050, there should be an increase of agricultural production by 60%, and for this 9.6 billion population in our world, and we need 60% of food production more. So I think it is a critical challenge which we are going to face, or our future generations, or our kids, or our future generations are going to face. So this is a critical challenge which we need to definitely look forward to in order to sustain, in order for a sustainable future. So what is the solution? So of course, the major solutions are very simple. So there are various facts and figures which I have provided to you here, but still the major in terms of in the agriculture sector, smart farming or precision farming. So there is a small difference between smart farming and precision farming, because in smart farming, we just go ahead for farming by utilizing all the IoT, the cloud, the various technologies which are around. In precision farming, we need to be more precise. Okay, if we are taking out the weed, from the healthy crops, we need to exactly know, or we need to precisely know which crop has to be, which weed has to be taken. We cannot be risky in taking the healthy crops out from there. So this is the only solution in front of us in terms of agriculture sector. So what are the AI enabled technologies currently we are using? So this is the Gardner's hype cycle, which is specifically for the technologies used in agriculture sector. So if you look at this, there are various technologies which has been used, like IoT, IoT and soil mapping, which is actually gaining a lot of research in the current world, and video advisory, SMS advisory. There are so many, but around all this, the most common ones which is used in India is chatbot for farmers, which utilizes both NLP and AI, natural language processing, and AI. So a farmer from a local area, they don't have to be good in the technology. They can just talk in their local language and get the decisions back. And then comes agriculture robotics. I still remember in my childhood when my grandparents go to the fields, they have to go and check for each and every issue in that particular plant. But nowadays it's not required. We have, robotics and IoT, which is enabled together to come out with this, wonderful solutions. Drones, and again, the image processing. So image processing has become a major part which will help us we will see some examples also on the go to see about this. Yes. So the major applications, when we talk about the applications, so the first and the major application which I would like to talk about is the crop and the soil monitoring. So I know that initially when we talk, in the initial days, normally what we used to do is that we humans have to go and we have to observe and give judgment about the crop quality, but it will always lead to incorrect or inaccurate results. There will be some inaccuracy in that. So nowadays, in order to increase or improve the crop production, we have this unmanned aerial vehicles, which will, or the drones or the satellites, which will capture the images of the crops and the soil, and it can visually analyze and understand and give us appropriate information about the crop quality or the health and about the efficiency of the production. And then comes the crop maturity. So this is another area of research which is widely, and it's still upcoming with a research area which has got a lot of openness for for more work in this area. So this is about the maturity of the crops. Say whether we take it into strawberries or whichever vegetables it is. We can use various AI models in order to understand the ripening of the fruit. So if we know, or if we can inform the farmer about the right ripening of the fruit, okay, they can actually pluck it at the right time, and they could be delivered to the nearest market for more, for getting more, market share. And then comes the soil health monitoring. So when it comes to soil health monitoring, see, when we look at a plant, it is very easy for us to even understand with our bare eyes. But when it comes to the soil monitoring, it is not so. So when we take a handful of soil, we need to understand about the moisture content, the temperature, the pH value, which could be easily done and accurately done with the help of an AI machine. So it definitely conserves the soil quality as well in a faster way, so that it can help the farmers far in advance to protect and conserve the soil for better crop health in the future productions. Then this is another area which even my students have come out with a small project before. So this is about the plant disease detection. So whenever we take a particular crop, for each crop there are n number of plant diseases which can occur. So deep learning, or with the help of AI, is one major technique, CNN. So when we talk about this, I cannot stop telling about convolution neural networks and its variants. So they have wonderful models which will classify, detect, and segment and correctly identify. Almost like 99% accuracy is what is actually delivered by using these models. Then comes severity. So it's just about disease detection. Now it is about the severity detection, because in the agriculture field, even if one crop is having some severity, it can affect the whole field, farming land, in a very fast manner. So this could be stopped and restricted with the help of deep convolution networks. And bug prediction. So this is actually a research which is actually done from researchers from MENA region. So they take the image of the leaves of the crop with bugs. They will even count the number of the bugs, and they can identify which bug is it, and they will also provide you some guidance of how to eliminate this issue. Agricultural robotics. This is actually an interesting area where a lot of application and research a lot of companies has put a lot of interest into this. So this unmanned aerial vehicles, always when we spray the herbicides over to the farming land, what happens is that many of the healthy crops also get spoiled. So in order to restrict that, here comes the precision farming. So where we could actually identify the exact area where the exact amount of herbicide that has to be sprayed in order to target and correct, in order to bring the health of the crops in a better way. And weed identification. So we need to correctly identify the weed with the help of the size and the shape and the color of the weed, and correctly pull it out. So this work is basically done by deep field and robotics by Bosch. Okay, so they have this Bonnie Rob, which actually smashes the weed on only the weed, not the making all the healthy crops just intact. And this is something about another application by using satellite imagery in agriculture. Because in Saudi, when this is actually an image of desert area from Saudi, where you could see that, the green color areas are the agriculture related areas. So the agriculture related areas or agriculture prominent areas could be identified with the help of satellite imagery. And we could, there are so many clusters of, it's not like always, it's all all of them together. So we could even find out the cluster of small fields, which could be utilized for better agriculture in the desert lands and the water. So once we do that, it is always important that we could estimate the right amount of water that could be used for irrigation without wasting the water resources. And this is done by NSSA Bahrain. So what they have done is they have actually taken the satellite imagery of Bahrain, and they have identified the 257,000 palm trees planted in Bahrain. So there are different, varieties of applications which we could apply in order to improve our agriculture. And this is a new area. This is not a new area, but this still, this is kind of a renewable alternative to the petroleum diesel, that is biofuel. And this is mainly developed from the agriculture waste and the edible oils. So there are so many online marketplaces like biofuel.com, which is available, and which can, I'm also part of this company, so which can, where they use this AI and ML to optimize and convert the waste into, usable biofuels. So these are some of my works, which I would like to say, which is in this particular field. So I've been working with, satellite imagery for, detecting the ships and for the oil spills. So these are some of the works which I have been doing. And in India, I have also been working with, there were so many issues, during the in the area of the forestry area where the human-animal conflicts usually comes. So what happens is that the animals comes in the night and destroy the crops. So that's a major challenge in India. So we've been working with the human-animal conflicts, so mainly elephants. So by using the image processing techniques and the another project, a funded project which I was working was the Agri Mandi. So that means that when the farmers generate the crops with much of hard work and effort, and they have to get the exact profit out from by selling these products to the market. But what happens is that we have a lot of brokers in between who actually, by the time it reaches the market, the profit which the farmers need to get will be lost. So we developed an AI model which will help them to reduce or eliminate this intermediate brokers who can come in between. So this is a small project which I wanted to show you. This is done by students. So this is basically like when the vegetables are being transported from one place to a market. So during the transportation, what happens is that there will be certain boxes, and some of the boxes will be perished soon. So according to so using the IoT and AI analytics, what happens is that we can transfer transfer the items to the exact places in a faster manner. So this is one example like that, which I can share the YouTube video later. And this is another one where the students have done, like it's an older one, so the UI might not look really good. Just a second. So where students can upload the video. Just a second. Yes, the students can upload the video or a video of the crop, and they will identify the diseases, and they will also suggest some solutions for it. So there are major takeaways from this. So the major takeaways which I wanted to tell you is that, so farming or agriculture is something, if we want to sustain in the future, we need to definitely need farming, food and everything, right? So in 2060, so 2060 is not far. So if we want to make our future generations safe, I think we all should go hand in hand with the help of our governments and with the help of the technologies which are already available, with a lot of data mining, AI, data science, all these technologies which are available. We should make use of this in a productive way to build a sustainable nature. So that's all it is. So if you have any doubts or anything, we can have the conversation in the QA session. So I'm also part of various movements like Save Soil Movement, Rally for River. So if you have any doubts or anything for that, you can always get back to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sini. Again, absolutely fascinating. I really like the robotics part, the drones capturing information, and you're able to analyze the trends from that, and also the very interesting thing about mapping 257 palm trees in Bahrain. That would really be something, to be able to predict the state and the health and the, getting the dates out in time and, for, harvesting them. Absolutely fascinating. In fact, your session is generating quite a few questions. So with that, I would like to thank all the attendees who have put in some questions, and I want to invite all the speakers, all the 4 speakers, Vineet Agarwal, Dr. Shahnawaz Khan, Dr. Chiranjeev Sini, you are already live, and I would also like to invite Mr. S. Hussaini from Al-Moyad Computers. He's the CEO, to join us in our visual and virtual Q&A. I'm happy, and thanks again to the attendees for putting in some questions. And I want to quickly jump into the questions. I have a few of my own, but let's first go to the agriculture side. And I see again more questions coming in. Let me just read the first one, which I had looked at, and the question is that as a small-scale farmer, Sini, what would you recommend in terms of the AI robotics to get some yield? So obviously, we're not talking at the very large farms. The gentleman here is clearly saying small-scale farmer. Your recommendations, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the major concern also, because as far as this the drones and the technology is concerned, when we are talking about a single piece of technology, yes, it is reasonable and it is less costly. But when we think about a bulk purchase for a farm or something, it basically comes out with a lot of expenses also are associated with it. So this is something which I didn't include in the slides. So one thing which we could do is that, for the small scale farmers, we need to come out. We have a lot of policies which are available, but as our structure is concerned, when we need to get something realize it in originally what happens, it takes a lot of time. So if we could make our whole process of getting something, say if there is a policy to help a small scale farmer, we can make that policies move faster and get it done for them, so that they are able to do the things in time. And another thing is that as far as the industry and the companies are concerned, they could come out with a lot of interesting policies, or some assistance to the farmers, so that they can also introduce their farming equipments at the same time. They can help farmers in some way. So yeah, this is pretty expensive when as a bulk is concerned, but we could come out with some policies to deal with it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Vineet and Dr. Chiranjeev, Dr. Shahnawaz, anything you want to add on to the agriculture side? There's a related question coming in, which you 3 of you can take up. Is that, okay, fine, I'm not small scale, I'm large scale, but I still have the challenge of cost and literacy. So we know all the farms in India, not all of them are organized, not all of them are well funded. What solution? Sini, you showed the chatbot thing, which is using natural language processing, and the same answers can be rotated and can be redirected. Go ahead, Dr. Chiranjeev, Vineet, and Shahnawaz, your answers on this.
I would request Vineet talk about the cost and why it will be implemented. But see, technically, if you want to do something right, you need to do a concept and you have to apply that concept. There are various ways of doing it, cheaper and the better. The cost of sensors, right, which are coming from Taiwan and other countries, are going down day by day, right, from the perspective. So it will go much more deeper. Do not think technology as a bottleneck, right, from the perspective. It will become as cheaper as possible. But how to develop it, you require a partner to integrate, basically, from the perspective. Because sometimes when we don't have the knowledge, we intend to think the fact that we cannot do it. I think that is the perspective that I'm putting here. It's not about the cost. It's about the intention. How will you run, right? It's about the people who have the knowledge to do it. I think I'll pass it to Vineet, who can actually answer this better.
Very, very interesting. Go ahead, Vineet.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Roy. So see, like any transformation, right? It'll take us some time before all the solutions reach the grassroots levels. This is where collaboration between the government, public-private partnership models, and other stakeholders will come in. We very clearly see intent from all these stakeholders, right? We have to allow them some time so that the solutions reach the grassroots level. different parties will have to contribute either by way of subsidizing some of the initial capex, till we have more efficient, more less costlier solutions in place. I mean, a few decades back, right, when internet was still coming up, right? Look at the data cost all of us individually had, right? And you look at the cost of internet and data today, right? Economies of scale will come. We have to remain patient, and we have to push each other, drive each other, work collaboratively to get the real benefit.
Fantastic. So, His Excellency, were you listening into the questions? Would you like to participate? Any answer on the challenges of applying intelligence to large-scale and small-scale farming in India? Go ahead, please.
No, I think I am rather listening to the experts because these are very technical. Because I have already given a bilateral perspective, which was so. I think it's better that experts speak on this. I mean, in India, of course, there are huge challenges in this regard, but as you have seen that we have made a lot of progress in the renewable energy front. Nowadays we are well on our way to achieve this 450 gigawatt of renewable energy target. So I mean that is the backgrounds, and I think I'll let the experts speak on this, and I'll be more eager to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to add any comments as we go along. So, Mr. Hussaini, you mentioned about Al Moyad having a long base of collaboration in Bahrain and in India. Any type of insight you want to give us on how technology is being applied in sustainability across this corridor? Go ahead, please.
First of all, let me say, as an Indian living in this country for over 2 decades now, I'm very happy to be here and very happy to support this event and support the initiatives that are going to arise out of the event. My recent interactions with His Excellency have been very, very encouraging, and it is not like we are going to just celebrate the 50 years of the diplomatic relationship between the two countries. His Excellency has got a few directions given in terms of how we can create a bridge between these two countries with the help of technologies, how we can, exchange all the goodies that two countries have to offer on the topic of technology. Yes, as a company, in Bahrain, as one of the most recognized companies in the region, I believe, and I always have taken, this responsibility to bring in the best of breed technologies to the country. Okay, and that goes across all the areas of technologies, be it cloud, be it emerging technologies, or AI. On the subject of AI particularly, we cannot deny the fact that AI is going to contribute substantially to the GDP of the country. One of the estimates that I have seen is like in the region, it's going to be around 8.2%, which is quite a good number. Okay. At the same time, the leadership in the country has been very, very supportive of the AI as a key focus area for the country. The recent King Hamad Prize, for ICT, part of UNESCO's, prizes, was awarded to, the educational institutions from across the globe, couple of them, and they were themed around AI, to enhance the continuity and quality of education. Okay, so the focus is very clear in this country to bring AI, work for the common good, work for the economic growth, and we have been supporting these initiatives, be it the AI hackathon, which is conducted by Polytechnic, my colleagues over here will know, or the Sheikh Nasser's AI Institute. We are there to support. At the same time, on the commercial front, we take the lead in getting those solutions from different countries, and particularly from India, because majority of our employees, the expat employees, are from India, and we have been doing some very interesting projects in the country, and this is going to continue And I will be encouraging, various companies, I have done this at different forums, to come and conduct business in Bahrain. Not only conduct business in Bahrain, particularly on the topic of AI, I think Bahrain can be an AI testing lab for Indian companies. I have been, seeding this idea for quite a while now, and I think, we are going to see results of it very soon. That's all I have to say, Aaron.
Fantastic. Mr. Hussaini, I have a few more questions on the technology solution side. Time permitting, I would definitely redirect you. But I see a lot of chat now and questions overlapping with one another on the negative side of AI. So Dr. Shahnawaz, you mentioned about the 169 or 168 SDGs having a connotation, negative connotation. And this chat is, what I see is people are asking about at what point can AI be a disadvantage? Also responsibility of handling AI in the right way and so on. So a couple of queries on this. How does the layman interpret the sensitivity of the positive and negative side of AI? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Arun. So I'll just try to highlight one key point. The key drawback of AI is that most of the development which happened traditionally, they are based upon the nations which are advanced in advanced developed countries, for example. So for example, whatever solution we have, they are based upon their requirement, not the developing countries' requirement. So now what happened, because when we try to implement the same solution as it has been implemented in the developed country, it creates more challenges. For example, there might be, for example, let's say, talk about the basic challenge, job. So now, for example, if we are using advanced solution, and so those kind of technologies or the resources or the facilities, they are not available to the developing countries or the small nations. So the people there, they cannot skill themselves to achieve to that particular level or to reach that particular level. So it creates more gap in the society. And again, that which can hamper the equality sustainable goal. AI technology and big data, we try to use them together, for example, for analytics and everything. Okay, so now, for example, in a country or a company where there is no transparency, or in a country where there's not proper democratic control, or these things are lacking, which happen at mostly in most of the poor countries, like in African nations. I don't want to mention. Okay, so but AI in those cases, AI might enable nationalism. It can create hate towards the minorities. It can also create biased election outcomes. And even for example, has been one term which is coming up nowadays. It's called as big nudging, which has emerged representing using big data and AI to exploit the psychological weakness to steer the decisions. Okay, and creating problem for example, damaging the social cohesion or democratic principle or even human rights. And recently, one of the country, they have used AI to develop the citizen score, which is being used to control the social behavior of the people. So now we see that AI can be misused in a different way. So if we don't have a responsible AI means when we are developing the AI solutions, or when we are using AI to develop any particular solution. So there should be some political, or for example, from the government or from some overseeing body, there should be some solution or some policies which can oversee all these development and see that how these products which are being developed, how they are using the people data and what actually they are trying to do. So if there's some policies, they have some guidelines regarding that. So it will help, of course, in achieving the positive things.
Fantastic. I think that was a very, very interesting answer. And I think we are seeing exploitation of AI in social media in certain countries. We have a war going on and it's quite active over there. We don't want to go into more details over there. I think it should be self-explanatory to all our attendees. But I see again another thread coming up on the startups. Now, Vineet, you showed in your slide 70 plus unicorns, and I think the figure, quite a significant figure of technology investment, 87 billion going into technology solutions around sustainability, 78 unicorns. So I have a query here asking about the startup. how should startups progress in AI? What is the sort of, how can we get the required information that will support us in understanding the use cases? This information will help us accelerate and build the required skills in contributing to building products. So obviously, somebody who has an understanding, like Siri mentioned, she's also has some businesses that she's trying to push forward. But your recommendation for startups, go ahead, Vineet, and Dr. Shahnawaz and Chiranjeev, go ahead.
I think, see, it has to start with identifying one real life problem, right, which you want to solve. It can be a very basic problem statement. I was fascinated with some of the use cases Sini had, right? Once you identify a problem, start small, start with a proof of concept solution, right? Once you establish that, there are various stakeholders available, right, which can help you take the solution to the next level, help you commercialize, right? I am very, very active in the Indian startup ecosystem, right? Access to capital these days is just not a concern if you pick the right problem statement to address. There are various angel networks, accelerators, incubators there, which would help you. Again, depending on the problem you've picked, you can reach out to academia, you can reach out to various other stakeholders for grants and pledges as well, which can help you commercialize the solution as such, right? If for any of the participants, right, if they really want some actual help, they've identified a problem statement, I'll be happy to connect with them offline as well to understand what they are solving and guide them personally.
Technically, what happens is we start the problem so big that we are independently not able to solve the problem. So do not start thinking technically so much, right, from the perspective. Look at the problem statement, right? Cut the elephant into parts and then take the most important part to be solved, right, from the perspective. There might not be a problem that you want to really solve, right, from the perspective, okay? That's important to realize, okay? Then create a minimal viable product, and that needs to be showcased because your engine needs to be sold.
Sini, you want to add any quick tips for the startup? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so here in Biofuel, basically it's a company, it's a startup company in India. It's an online B2B platform where people can buy and sell various biofuel products like light diesel oil, so different kind of oils and the briquettes and everything. So I was actually related to them in terms of coming out with various insights and bringing some analytics to their marketplace. So I had this experience of bringing some analytics and onto this. So I think when it comes in, so nowadays we could see like any of the entrepreneurial cell when related to a school or a college is concerned, everybody will come out with some technique which is just related to AI, and they will push it out, but that will not be realized at the end of the day as an end product. So when we look over to as a startup perspective, so I think they should foresee some 10 to 50 years in far in advance and see where we would stand, and then we should come out with not at the light what we have in now, but they should foresee and do it. That is one advice which I would like to give to the startup entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sini. Chiranjeev, would you just like to repeat your advice? You were mentioning about breaking that into smaller and smaller parts, and then I think your audio broke up. So in case you want to quickly complete that, go ahead, please.
I just want to thank all of you for such a wonderful interaction. Unfortunately, I have to leave for a meeting. My colleague has joined from other link. He is there with all of you. So let me go with an assurance that I see a lot of positivity in the highest level of leadership in both countries to move forward in this sector, both AI, renewable energy, sustainability, and Embassy will make all efforts, and we will inshallah soon have another session, maybe involving both academicians as well as businessmen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Mr.
Thank
Hosseini,
you.
you want to say anything, or Dr. Haji, would you like to thank the Excellency? Go ahead, please.
Yes,
Dr.
thanks a
Bilal.
lot to Your Excellency. And I have picked quite a few ideas from you, and stay assured, I'm working on them, and you will see progress happening.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Just was an honor for us to have you, and this is the beginning of many activities as discussed yesterday with the team in Your Excellency's office, and we shall continue doing so.
Thank you. So coming back to the Q&A, we are run out of time, but let's just close with one question, which is again on the thread, which is on personalization of education. So we read a lot about how the chatbots can proactively manage education at the student or university level. It's not quite clear what the question is over here, but go ahead quickly, Vineet or Shahnawaz, Chiranjeev, would you like to say anything on personalization of education using AI? Go ahead, please.
I think what is more important is learning. We have too many edutech brands in the world, right? Everybody is booming, right? From the perspective. The one thing which is not realized during this COVID scenario is the learning part. There are artificial intelligence algorithms and data analytics systems, right? Or algorithms, I'm sure our learned members will be able to tell, right? Which through while teaching can give you engagement quotients and emotional quotients. Please do understand, human beings basically learn from the ability, right? There are systems through which you can develop and track whether a person is engaged, attentive, and learning, right? If you can track that and then mix it with the academic test score, right? It can benefit you to make it educationally viable. See, I mean, in teachers or teaching mechanism, you're only focusing on the first 10 people. You have already 40 people at the backbench, right? Our motto is to help at least 50% of the class learn, not just pass. I would say let's focus on that. Education can go much more frontiers. Just giving some videos, right, or 3D material will never help anybody to learn.
So actually, one of our students, they are working on, like, for example, even we are working on a project called like video sentiment analysis. So we are trying to implement that in the classroom so that, like, for example, in the class, when we are discussing the topic, so at the same time, there can be real-time sentiment analysis, which can analyze the facial expression of the student and can inform us or that whether the student is bored or how he's accepting this particular topic or not. And based upon that, we can have more personal discussion with that. This is just on for the attentivity in the class. On the next level, for example, AI can be used to based upon the student interest and analysis. Maybe, for example, just using his social media profile and just seeing exploring that in whatever area he has more interest and which area he has more understanding. Just using natural language processing, analyzing those facts, we can develop like AI can be used to develop personalized educational plan for that particular student only. So there are many different ways where AI can be used for having like personalized education.
Okay, thank you. We are actually absolutely run out of time. I see attendees dropping out, but I want my 1 minute answer or 30-second answer from all of you, which is how do we get speed, scale, and adoption in sustainability? But before I ask that question, I'm going to ask all of you, I need that answer in 30 seconds. How do we get scale, speed, and adoption in sustainability? This is your answer coming from experience. But Mr. Hosseini, I want to quickly jump to you. I just have this question. Is sustainability on the calendar of ICT solution providers? Are vendors trying to find a way? I think somewhere in one of the sessions, the point was raised that so many research papers, how do we commercialize? Are technology vendors really looking at bringing sustainability into the application stack? You are involved with so many vendors, so many solutions. A quick answer from you before I go for the last round. Please go ahead.
Sure, Arun. Thanks. And actually, Sini, in her presentation, she highlighted, if I'm not wrong, the stuff being done by the multinationals. Okay, and in the region, I think that was Dr. Sarfraz. Sorry for that. But at the local level, I have seen the interest coming out, and we, as a technology company, we are taking the lead. As a matter of fact, ESG is one of our corporate initiatives, working very closely, both in terms of having those measures taken, to have a very sustainable kind of environment in the company, going with solar panels for majority of our electricity consumption. At the same time, we are into offering solutions, comprising of technology tools that can help one stay compliant on sustainability matters, going by the scoring of the matrix.
Okay, fantastic. I think so. GEC Media is a technology publishing group. We really look forward to presenting the technology solutions. We see the use cases very largely in one of the publications where I'm the editor, Business Transformation. I've created the section Sustainability. We see the use cases, but on the vendor side, we look forward to seeing more visibility. So my last question, starting with you, Sini, how do we get speed, scale, and adoption in sustainability? Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Yes. So in terms of agriculture, I think we should educate the farmers who are illiterate to a larger extent, and we should put some effort onto it. That's my point in agriculture perspective.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Dr. Shahnawaz, your take.
Yeah, I agree with her, actually. More awareness is required to the common people.
Okay, great. Dr. Chiranjeev, if you're online.
I am there. Yeah, I'm there. Just the video is patchy. I would say learn with the system. Make the system learn. The system is not you. You are making the system, right? You start from the ground basics, then only you can sustain with this, basically, right? It's us, human being, who are better than AI. So use it.
Okay, great. Vineet, your take?
To awareness, I would just add collaboration, and that will make sustainability, that will take sustainability to the common man.
I think you mentioned in your beginning also that collaboration is critical. So reinforced over there. Mr. Hosseini, your take. How do we get speed, scale, and adoption? You are the solution provider who's going to make this work in the last mile. Go ahead.
I think the considered efforts have to be in place with all the sincerity to make it happen. At the same time, the commercial explanations have to be in place as well. So that the overall proposition becomes attractive to all the parties.
Okay, great. So absolutely fascinating discussion over here and the presentations, and we have overshot the time. I thank all the attendees for sitting through these absolutely 2 minutes of brilliant discussion. And I'd like to call Dalal. Yes, Dalal. So I'd like to hand over to you for the closing speech and the vote of thanks. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. ختاما نشكر كلا من سعادة السفير بيوش شريفاستبا سفير الهند لدى مملكة البحرين، كما نشكر المنظمين GEC Media Group مجموعة العالمية للذكاء الاصطناعي والسفارة الهندية بمملكة البحرين، والداعمين مركز ناصر للتأهيل والتدريب المهني وشركة المؤيد للكمبيوتر الشرق الأوسط. كما نشكر الأخوة المتحدثين الأستاذ فينيت أغروال، الدكتور شهنواز خان، الدكتور تشيرانجيف روي، الأستاذة سيني راج بولاري، والأستاذ أرون شنكر على إدارة جلسات المؤتمر، وبالطبع الدكتور جاسم حاجي رئيس المجموعة العالمية للذكاء الاصطناعي. كما نشكر جميع الحضور والمشاركين على مشاركتهم الفاعلة، على أمل اللقاء بهم قريبا في مؤتمر البحرين الدولي الافتراضي للذكاء الاصطناعي في الصحة، والذي سيعقد في 29 من يونيو تحت رعاية سعادة وزيرة الصحة الأستاذة فائقة بنت سعيد الصالح. Finally, I would like to first thank His Excellency Ambassador Piyush Shrivastava, Ambassador of India to Bahrain, and we also thank our organizers, International Group of Artificial Intelligence, GEC Media Group, the Embassy of India in Bahrain, and our partners, Nasser Vocational and Training Center, and the Muayyad Computers Middle East. And thanks to our speakers and our moderator, Mr. Arun Shankar. And of course, Dr. Jasim Haji, President of the International Group of Artificial Intelligence. And we also would like to thank all of the attendees for their active participation. And we hope to meet you soon at the Bahrain First International Virtual Conference on Artificial Intelligence in Health, which will be held on the 29th of June under the patronage of Her Excellency, the Minister of Health, Mrs. فايقة بنت سعيد الصالح. تمنياتنا للجميع بدوام الصحة والعافية، ودمتم في رعاية الله، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.